Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast brought to you by mmobomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, as always, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman, and this is episode 461. We're doing the show live, as always, Twitch. I think I forgot to tweet. I was in such a rush that I forgot to tweet. So most of the time, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll know when we're going live, just not today. Doing the show live, twitch.tv/mmobomb every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Love to have you here and chat with us. We've got chat chiming in already on some of the topics we're going to talk about, so we'll have their opinions to share with you as well. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes, Spotify, any of those other places, thank you so much. We appreciate that. That's awfully kind of you. And we love being in your ears. That's kind of creepily worded. I probably should change the wording on that in future ones. In future ones. Anyway, let's do a show. Let's talk about some gaming stuff. Joining me to do it, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
Not a lot. Just, Friday. Kind of woke up a little late because, sleep is awesome.
Sleep is sometimes fantastic. Also, not sleeping, Mr. Troy Blackburn. What's up, Noob Fridge?
Not by much, though. Not by much.
Not by much at all. You watched Developer Direct. You actually streamed your Wednesday stream here, and you did a reactions thing to it. We're going to talk about Developer Direct, so we'll see if it delivered on some of the multiplayer goodness. As we get started with the news bump, make sure you click like, click subscribe, leave a comment. Get that question of the week, weekly bomb in there. Got lots of great feedback on last week's show. Your question of the week and midnight releases. We'll talk about ours in just a few minutes, but let's start with some news. Mental note, Mike, don't forget the weekly bomb bump this week. When we get there. When we get there. Last week, I may have forgotten it.
Well, you forgot the tweet, so you might as well forget the bump.
I might just
forget everything.
Let's just sit here and talk for an hour and press record. You know what? Maybe not even press record. Maybe not. Just maybe.
Forget that too.
Yeah, just
forget that we're talking about games and just talk about something else.
To Cal saying it's impressive incompetence. Yeah, talking about last night's show and Forspoken's reviews that selectively used words from not reviews, but news articles about their state of play show. So that's some fun stuff. Go check it out on Ready Check Radio if you want some more there. That's fun. We're just going to say impressive. The MMOBomb Always Online podcast is impressive. We're just using that one word. So Developer Direct was Wednesday. Troy, you streamed a reaction stream here on our Twitch channel for the entire show. Now, obviously, they talked about Forza and Minecraft Legends and their PvP, which is technically, I guess, multiplayer, but not really exactly coverage stuff that MMOBomb would go into. But the other two big pieces of the Developer Direct from Xbox and Bethesda were, of course, Redfall and The Elder Scrolls Online. And I think it's fair to say that going into this show, the Developer Direct, there were question marks on both of these from not only people anticipating Redfall, which we did get a release date of May 2nd, but also current, past, and maybe potential future Elder Scrolls fans wondering, where are you going with things now that they've made kind of a big deal out of we don't want to do the annual chapter type series content delivery system the way we have in the past. And then on the Redfall side, I'm sure a lot of people keep hearing open world, but everything we saw didn't really look open world. So both going into the show had questions. The show as a whole, we're going to take both games specifically in just a second here. But Troy, what was your reaction to the show as a whole? And did Redfall and Elder Scrolls Online attempt to answer those questions? And did they succeed?
I think they did attempt to answer both of the questions that I thought they needed to answer for Redfall specifically was show more of the open world stuff. I think they succeeded in that. And I think ESO needed to show, not only, what feature, what's this big feature that's going to bring players back to the game, but also talk about the future and what are they going to do to keep current veteran players invested in the game.
They did announce a lot, and again, we're going to get into both of the specifics in just a second, but same question to you, Q. Was the showcase interesting for somebody like yourself who very into games, but not generally into games like Redfall. Dabbled in ESO way back when, but aren't generally a player of that game. Like, did the show hold anything for you as not somebody actively invested right now in any of the games they were offering?
So honestly, I don't think I ever played ESO.
Really? I thought you played with
I
us
don't
on
think
the
so.
launch week back at Game Breaker when none of us
I
could party together.
Oh, maybe I did. It has been so long, I don't remember. But I mean,
We were like,
if I did,
do you guys remember that? You could see the arrow. Like if you targeted your teammate, like your party member, I would target Troy or I would target Gary. And they're like, I'm on the docks. And I'm like, I'm on the docks. And if I targeted you, I could see the arrow above their head, but they weren't there.
Any of that.
It was a mess. It was such a
And
mess.
then you had to reload UI every 5 minutes.
Every time. Anyway,
I mean,
go ahead,
to be
Q, sorry.
fair, it's been a lot of years and a lot of MMO launches. And there's some things I remember, like Lotro's falling cow.
Oh, yeah.
That stuck with me for whatever reason. But
And your
other thing-
stupid cat in Rift. Ugh.
look, I loved Derpy Cat, okay?
Derpy Cat got more of us killed than any bad healer ever.
But Derpy Cat always came back alive.
That's true. That's true.
He would go off, find shit, kill it, and then come back.
Yep.
He was totally useless for us, but he was having fun. So
Put that on a t-shirt. So anyway, the show itself, the developer direct, any interest for you as not an active player?
I mean, not really. I like it. It makes me happy that they're kind of doing stuff to like it in ESO that they're adding some things that call back and stuff to the stuff that people love. But yeah, neither one of these are really a Q thing.
Taking a look first at Redfall in particular, since this is not a game that has to worry about returning players or keeping an existing player base happy right now, this is still very new, coming out on May 20th on PC and Xbox. Will also be on Game Pass if you are a Game Pass subscriber, which is probably a good thing because they are asking for the $70 price point, Troy, which when I saw, I was kind of like, I'm super interested in Redfall. You all know I have an overwhelming love of May 2nd. What did I say? Did I say
You have an overwhelming love of May 2nd?
No. Ninja Pandas is saying, don't you mean May 2nd? I thought I said May 2nd. Did I not say May 2nd? Oh, I said the 20th? Well, yeah, May 2nd. I said May 2nd earlier, and now, yeah, May 2. On PC, Xbox at the $70 price point. So I'm definitely happy I get to pick this one up on Game Pass.
Yeah.
As interested as I am in Redfall, I love vampires. Absolutely love vampires. You all know that. I love the look of it. I'm a big fan of The Division, despite its flaws and that type of game. From everything we've heard, this is that type of experience. An open world shooter. You can go around, do shit yourself, group up with a couple of buddies, do some things. They have their own kind of dungeon-esque things with the psychic world that is procedurally generated in various areas. Lots of side missions, story missions, takeovers of regions of the map, stuff like that. I don't want to compare it directly to The Division because there's some aspects of Redfall that aren't as in-depth military shooter-wise, the way Division is, but generally, conceptually, I think that's kind of a little bit of a fair comparison. So I'm super interested in it. But, Troy, they kept saying open world, and we never saw it. Now, they didn't actually, in the footage you're watching, they do explore quite a bit. They give an example of a general story quest and then a couple examples of different side stuff that you can be doing that has nothing to do with the story. They did a lot of fade to black and come back up on the next thing. So we've heard, hey, just this one region is bigger than the entire ship in Prey. And that was pretty big. Cool. Did this show enough open world for you to go, yeah, this is what I was looking for when I heard the word open world? Or are we being maybe a little coy with the term open world?
I think it showed more than they have up to any point. I think even just where they showed the little map and showed you kind of trekking down to different neighborhoods and stuff. I think that did a better job of showing that the world is, is larger and different areas can produce different types of content if that's what you're looking for. I think they still could have done a better job footage wise of showing a little bit of that trekking between neighborhoods and a little less, fade to black. But overall, definitely I got more of a feel of an open world from the game this time around
Yeah.
than I have any other time.
Hope it doesn't get the Just Cause treatment. Beautiful crafted locations with nothing in between, says Shrek. Definitely a
Yeah.
concern. And they didn't liken it to Just Cause. They said it's more Far Cry when people started saying, oh, it's a Left 4 Dead clone. They said, no, it's actually more like Far Cry. I definitely, Q, from their presentation, did get at least that type of feeling that this was more go anywhere, do whatever you want. There's a bunch of side stuff. And one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised on was they talked about retaking neighborhoods throughout the map and, locking down different or beating up vampires in different key locations in a neighborhood to spawn the boss, the underboss of that neighborhood, then take them out, gather some skulls, open up a portal to go fight this thing, and you retake the neighborhood. And I thought, okay, that's cool. We've seen kind of that same type of gameplay in Division and things like that. But it wasn't part of the story. I was very happy to hear that. They said that it was outside the story. And it would have been very easy for them to, oh, the story is to retake each neighborhood. And then we're just doing the same story. I was cool. I don't mind doing that. It sounds fun. And it's not part of the story. I hope the story is good. I can't imagine it being all that long, though. Like, Divisions isn't super long. And then you get into that game as a live service feel where you're, constantly doing the same things. Redfall's obviously going to fall into that box to a certain extent just by the type of game it is. But when you have this type of town, this type of thing that happened and these vampires and stuff, I think you have to have a compelling story.
I think you're definitely going to need something that draws the players in because, like you said, it would have been very Ubisoft of them to go in and just make the story retaking the neighborhoods, which would have been an absolute shallow.
And it's not what
disaster.
Arcane is known for. They're known for this type of stuff. Yeah.
And that's what gives me faith that they're going to have the story in the right way because I'm a huge fan of the games they've done in the past. I'm a huge fan of this developer, and I think if anybody's going to get it right, that they've got the best chance of getting it right.
Q, what'd you think? Like, I know first-person shooters aren't generally your thing. Let's set that aside. Watching the footage from the Redfall reveal, what did you think?
I mean, it's one of those things. So, like I said, I technically like shooters. They just don't like me. But the one thing I really like about shooters is that by the nature of the design of the games, right? Like all these indoor environments, you have a neighborhood, right? And like some games with shooting, like say Saints Row or something, right? This is not the case, but so many of them, it's like you have a neighborhood, you can get into all the houses, you can like explore these actual interior environments and stuff. And that's a thing that I wish was in other games. Like I wish you could go into other games and everything that was built is explorable instead of this place that you just can't enter, right? Because whatever, doors locked, whatever reason they come up with for it. So I mean, it looks cool, like the vampires and everything looks cool. The idea of reclaiming a neighborhood sounds kind of neat, although would almost make more sense to me against zombies than vampires, because vampires can do some shady ass shit to get into places. So unless you like go in and rebuild the house and then and the game has the rule of vampires can't enter unless invited, I don't know how you're gonna keep them out of your neighborhood. Like,
True. And they did show some of those like vampire-esque abilities in the trailer, like taking on a particular type of vampire that could actually disappear into the ground or through levels of the map to avoid taking damage from you. Then you had to chase it down and things like that. We also saw a little bit of like, I don't want to say dungeons, but that's kind of the feel they gave me, the little psychic areas, the portals that you go through, and there's a, a beat the challenge, beat the boss type thing, and then get out before the portal collapses. Some of the procedurally generated type stuff where it's different each time you're in there. Then they showed like working your way to fight the vampire gods, or just on your way, the vampire gods getting pissed and spawning more powerful beings to come and take you out. It just, to me, I understand why some people, this just might not be their cup of tea, right? If you don't like vampires, then you're probably out to begin with. You just don't care. And if you're not into those types of The Division or Far Cry type gameplay where it is you and a couple of buddies or you by yourself and just go do whatever the hell you want, and some of it's going to be repetitive in nature, even if the environments are different, Troy, I can understand why some just look at this and go, yeah, this isn't for me. On top of that, you're not creating truly a unique character, which is going to be a turnoff for some people as well, right? You're picking from one of 4 pre-made characters and then customizing those characters based on gear, cosmetics, and your skill tree, not the actual character design itself. Those are some valid turnoffs for people. They don't turn me off. I'm super interested. The presentation at Developer Direct upped how much I'm looking forward to this. Please don't suck. Please don't suck.
Simple request.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think it's too much to ask. I am, though, Troy, glad I'm going to get it on Game Pass. I don't know, even being like interested in this to the degree that I am, I don't know if I'd shell out $70 for it. That'd be, I think back and it's like, would I pay $70 for The Division? Probably not. Probably
I don't
not.
know. I don't know if they've showed me enough content yet to justify $70. So I guess I'm still probably on the fence a little bit about a day one pickup on this. I definitely want to play it.
You don't have Game Pass?
No, I don't have Game Pass.
You should get it. I love it. I love it. On the other side of the multiplayer aspect in the Developer Direct was, of course, the Elder Scrolls Online, an MMO that some of the staff here, including Troy and myself, do dabble in. It's usually our second or third MMO at any given point in our MMO schedule and what we're playing. Generally, we're pretty positive on it. I know, Troy, you and I have some very substantial gripes about the game, and we will be very honest and tell you if you don't like this aspect, this game ain't for you. Just period. Mm-hmm. And the pushing of things to the crate shop and the cash shop, including housing and stuff like that, has been a huge negative in my mind. A huge negative. Now, we'll see how that evolves over the year. Their showcase not only included what they showed at the Developer Direct, but they also had a separate stream after the Developer Direct where they went into some more details about the key announcements. Troy, what do you think of the Bethesda, the Elder Scrolls Online presentation as a whole and what they revealed with their kind of new development direction versus the way they've done things for the last few years?
Well, during the actual Xbox Developer Direct, they spent their time more as a commercial for the game than anything else, trying to draw in new players, which I found interesting. Kind of speaks for where they are at the moment. They kind of dropped real quick, the new features and stuff that we're going to talk about later. But of course, they did have a later stream to themselves. But it was like one big commercial. But come later on in the evening, whenever they went into their own Developer Direct and they were talking about more in depth of the class and things like that. They didn't go super in depth. It wasn't like a deep dive or anything like that, but they did talk about a little bit about the new class and the new area and the zone and kind of what you're going to be doing and who all's involved story wise. And I thought that they did a good job. I thought that they really did a great job of delivering the thing that they needed to deliver as far as a feature. I think there was a lot of folks who got themselves hyped over spellcrafting for no reason.
Yeah, that was unlikely to be a reality to me.
Yeah, and I think it's unlikely to ever be a reality. That's a balanced nightmare that ZeniMax Online does not
for an
want.
already unbalanced game.
Yeah, they already struggle with balance as it is.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think they did. I think they did a really good job of bringing out the content, and of course they teased what was coming on later in the year with the Endless Dungeon Arena 2-player thing. So that's that's sort of geared towards the, the veteran existing players who are looking for something else to sort of, grind on a little bit. So I think overall they delivered everything they needed to deliver this time around.
Ooh, pretty positive on that one. Q, they are adding the Arcanist class, and there's already been specs put up on various websites. Outcast just doing their thing, right? Here you go. Here's information on it. So introducing a new class to any MMO is generally well received as an announcement. We'll have to see how it's implemented and if it's implemented well. And as we mentioned, the balance of it, of course, that'll come later in official reviews of the class when we get there. But this is exactly what Elder Scrolls players wanted in the last update, right? Instead, we got a card game. And the update before that was the last one we had was what? Necromancer? The last new class in ESO?
I don't even remember.
It was Necro. When was Necro added? I can't even remember.
Well, for the longest time, we were just talking about the card game, so.
Yeah. No, not Necrom. I can't just say Necro.
Yeah, the freaking Google foo with that one's gonna kind of be screwy.
Yeah. Oh man. It was added. It was launched as early access, the Necromancer, on May 20th, 2019. 2019. So it has been 3 years, well, 4 by the time this actually comes out, since we've gotten a new class. So obviously, right off the bat, Q, that is a great announcement for ESO fans. Going to familiar but not totally familiar locations is also a good blast. But they did say, hey, look, you're going to get this content. You're going to get this in the first half of the year. And then in the back half of the year, yeah, you're on your own. Because we're going to be focusing on quality of life and system improvements for a lot of this. And yeah, we do have a big new feature that we're going to put in at the tail end of the year. But do you think Elder Scrolls Online fans, or maybe potentially returning players, are going to be okay with a huge content drop of a new class, some new zones, and new storylines, and et cetera, all that fun stuff that comes with that, at the expense of you're not going to get some of those dungeon DLCs late in the year that we've been doing for previous years, because we're going to spend some time addressing quality of life. And then at the tail end of the year, yeah, we're going to give you one big new system, which we'll talk about separately in a second here. Is that enough to kind of make you want to come back if you were an ESO player?
I think there's an obvious issue here, right? And it's players need stuff to keep them entertained, and quality of life stuff is very important, and pretty much every MMO is constantly working on that, right?
Yeah.
But the way you should be doing it is you should not make quality of life a drop that's like, here's all the quality of life improvements, because for one thing, that is a continuous thing that you work on, because technology changes and whatever else, you find things that need to be tweaked because it just doesn't work the way you thought it would work or whatever else. So centering an entire portion of your year around quality of life seems kind of foolish. And like you said, it's been a while since they dropped a new class, and the average, I think, unless your game is dying, the average, I think, is a couple of years max, right? Like basically next expansion you get a new class or whatever, and it's there's like a cycle to it. So 4 years to wait is already a really long time. And then they do the card game thing, which cool, card games are obviously kind of popular in MMOs and stuff, but as part of other content updates, not like the focus.
Yeah.
So it all just feels very weird the way they're like, all right, well, here's this thing that's kind of side content. Okay, now we're giving you stuff that you might actually want. Okay, now after that, we're just going to wait and do nothing but quality of life for a while, and that's it. So you're not actually going to have new entertaining stuff to do, which means you're going to be bored by the time the next thing comes around.
There's something to be said for that. A number of people chiming in, Troy saying the class looks interesting, then others saying, hey, a content drought in general is just never really good for an MMORPG. And if you're, and Takal saying if I was a player, it doesn't sound like it's enough to keep me around or come back. I disagree on the comeback portion, but I think I'm absolutely with you on the keep you around portion. I think a new class is 100% going to bring back a lot of Elder Scrolls Online players out of the gate. The question is, will you keep them? The question is, will you keep them?
Yeah, and I think they are going to have this skip between the story content with the new class and the endless dungeon where they're going to be doing the quality of life stuff. That's great for existing players, but yeah, as far as players who are just here for the new, that's not going to keep any of them around. But you do have at the end of the year, you're going to get another boost when that endless dungeon comes out. Don't forget about that.
Yeah. And that was like the new main system feature that they talked about. They didn't go into depth in this at all. They just like teased it by saying, how would you like to do an endless dungeon with a friend? That was literally the description we got of it, which I'm all for, personally.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who would like to do that.
Yeah. So I think the question for me as a relatively active Elder Scrolls Online player, I thought this presentation was fantastic. But I'm already a most months subscribed player. This is exactly what I wanted to hear. There's a lot of crap in Elder Scrolls Online that needs to be fixed. They mentioned a matchmaking system. Finally! Come on. Like, how has it not had a PvE trials, matchmaking? Like, how is that? Come on. So I like the content. I like the new class. It looks great. I can't wait to play it. But that's always the case with a new ESO expansion for me. I like the Endless Dungeon. I look forward to that. As an existing player, I look at that space in between and I go, finally. Finally. So for me, it's great across the board. But I think that's because I've been willing to put up with it and still play it the way it is now. The way everything is now.
Wouldn't it have been better for you if those quality of life changes were coming?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
In pace.
Yeah.
And you were getting content as well too.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
100%. Yes, that would be better.
I mean, not arguing against quality of life changes. I'm all for all of those, but it taking the game that you and I both play with XIV, right? Like they drop stuff and like every patch has some sort of quality of life thing going on. They've added new duty supports. They went back and, added this here. They tweak some things there, and there's content with it too. It's not always a lot of content, but it's,
yeah,
some stuff to keep you entertained for a little bit. You go do Tataru's quests or whatever. And that's the kind of like, it's enough pacing without being, say, like Genshin Impact level pacing to where you're always behind on what you're doing. Right? Like you're just staring at that going, shit, I don't have enough time in the day to do Genshin shit. But it's enough pacing to keep you entertained and doing other things while you wait for the next bit to come out with some more quality of life changes.
Yeah, you are 100% right. Would I have liked those things to be there simultaneously all along? Yes. I think looking at it now, though, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Troy, but I don't think I'm alone in this. I think other ESO players have felt the same, is that there's been such a push to the crown shop that it feels like we have a player base that is at X number and it's not really going up. It's in fact going down just a little bit and very slowly. So the game is quote unquote healthy, but it's not growing. And we need the revenue to grow. So we're going to keep this shift towards the crown shop. And almost looking at things going, these expansions feel like, these chapters feel like the bare minimum to try and get a box fee out of me. And just maintain this game. And looking at some of the system things that they're going to be improving and fixing and bugs and stuff like that, we've kind of been in this, at least I have in this, you know what? I got to believe if they were going to fix this, they would have fixed it by now. And so it kind of feels like maybe this game is in a little bit of a slightly above maintenance mode to keep the cash rolling while ZeniMax is rumored to be working on some other MMO related thing. This, I think, kind of quiets that a little bit, pending how we see it all roll out. In that, yeah, hey, some of your long-term gripes, we are going to take the time to fix now. You know, we're not a skeleton crew maintenancing this thing and just giving you a $40 box every year so that we can make a little scratch and everything else being pushed to the crown shop. They got to deliver on it, though. And I still feel like the game has a massive rewards problem. There is just content that does not feel rewarding to do because the coolest stuff is always pushed to the crown store. That's got to be addressed, and I didn't hear anything on that, so we're going to have to watch. I think this was a very good presentation for existing Elder Scrolls fans. I do agree with some in chat that I don't know, beyond coming for the new class and the new zones right off the bat, how many lapsed ESO players stick around.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to be coming back at the beginning, like you said, for the new class and the new content. But I think they're going to drop back off during the quality of life portion of this. And speaking of, I think they really need to deliver during the quality of life bug fixing portion of this.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be some significant things fixed, addressed, changed during that portion to show that it's worth the time that they're going to be dedicating to this in order for players to be happy with it.
I mean, that would be absolutely the worst, Q, right? Is like, hey, we're advertising, we're going to take this time, and then during that time, there's not really noticeable differences from a player's perspective. Like, that would just be awful. It's a content drought, and I'm not really getting any benefits out of some of the things you say you're doing.
I mean, some of those quality of life changes may very well be things that players don't notice because it's
Of
something
course.
in the back end or something like that. But they really do need to do, you know, in your face stuff if the entire point of you waiting for more content after this batch is we're just covering all the quality of life bases.
Yeah, this is not a time for back end stuff. This is a time for forward facing players can see what we're doing stuff.
Yeah, I was generally positive on the presentation, but I'm gonna maintain a skeptical attitude until I see things. And I am gonna check out Arcanist. I mean, I'm a Magicka necromancer, so like the Arcanist doesn't look all that different. I mean, there's obviously a different gameplay feeling and formula and rotation and stuff like that, but I'm a dark magic wielding Magicka thing, and that's basically what I would be with Arcanist. But I'll definitely check it out. It's always fun when you're automatically CP 160 because you have it, or CP whatever, because you get those points right off the bat. So that Arcanist is going to level 1 to 50 real quick because it'll already have hundreds of champion points on it. Unless they block that for a little bit. I don't think they will, though. All right, some rapid fire news, just some general thoughts on some smaller bits, and then we got one thing after that. So the CWA, the Communication Workers of America, they are actually withdrawing the request for a union vote over at Proletariat Q. Apparently, the CEO there, CWA, accuses them of aggressive, confrontational, union-busting type tactics that Activision absolutely loves seeing the Proletariat CEO doing, I'm sure. And this time, they succeeded in getting what they wanted. CWA stated that the CEO, Seth Savak, took the workers' concerns as a personal attack and held a series of meetings that demoralized and disempowered the group, making a free and fair election impossible.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when this came up because, right, they had been successful with their previous attempts despite the antics at Activision Blizzard. So I was a little surprised that they actually withdrew the request on this particular one instead of just pushing through. Like, it kind of goes to show how bad it must have been for the workers, you know, and dealing with, you know, what was being done at Proletariat to try to keep them from unionizing to begin with. it's it is, I guess, Blizzard's first win on this stuff.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, because the other QA testers, those both passed, and I mean, the Microsoft one doesn't necessarily impact Activision yet, but
yeah, it. So I don't know. It was a little disappointing, and I was a little surprised, but.
So the only,
I mean, we knew Blizzard was pushing.
Oh
didn't want any of it to happen.
The only question I really have on this one is if you're going to openly accuse the CEO of those types of tactics, then you must have reason to believe or proof of those types of things. And shouldn't the first step, instead of canceling the vote, and maybe they will end up doing this, they would know the ins and outs of union management far better than I. Wouldn't you log a complaint first with the Labor Relations Board? Like, we have evidence that the CEO's actions are deliberate and demoralizing and disempowering, and union busting tactics like this are generally illegal. The way companies get around it is they side talk everything. You've seen Activision's public statements. You know that, hey, we're not necessarily against a union, but we believe
that it's bad for the company.
That it's bad for the company, it's bad for you, and that small groups should not represent the whole, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they try doing underhanded side stuff that you can't really prove or doesn't meet the level of being straight out union busting tactics that are flat out illegal. If you believe that enough of this happened, Troy, that you're going to call off the vote, I got to believe you have at least a leg to stand on to file a complaint with the Labor Relations Board, before you cancel that vote.
You would think so, and maybe a complaint is still coming, but like you said, it's a little weird that they just pulled the vote before trying to file a complaint. But
yeah,
who knows what's going on?
Be part of the process, though, on something like that, because of the issues that they see there, right? Because they're basically saying all these tactics just made it to where they wouldn't be able to get a fair vote. People are, I guess, afraid or whatever else, that they withdraw the thing right now so that they can go ahead and deal with this and then request the vote
later
at a later point when the other stuff is handled.
Could be. I hope so. Like, if you vote and you don't want to unionize, I'm all for you. If you vote and you want to unionize, I'm all for you. Like, I don't care what the outcome of your vote is. Do I personally...
You should just get to vote.
Yeah. Do I think personally that the gaming industry needs to be unionized more? I personally do believe that. Yes. But if you as a company and your employees don't agree with me and you vote no, great. As long as you fairly got to vote, I don't care. And I think proletariat should have been given the opportunity to do that under fair conditions, where everybody just said, all right, what do we want to do? Let's vote. Troy, one of our games that we've enjoyed, but we have also been kind of beating up on for similar reasons when it comes to cash shop / grind. Warhammer 40k Darktide is actually delaying the launch of the game on the Xbox Series S and X while they directly address player complaints, saying we're going to hit those things first. In an open letter to players, they said, over the next few months, our sole focus is to address the feedback that many of you have. In particular, we will focus on delivering a complete crafting system, a more rewarding progression loop, and continue to work on game stability and performance optimization. This also means that we will delay our seasonal content rollout and the Xbox Series X and S launch. We'll also suspend the upcoming release of premium cosmetics. We just couldn't continue down this path, knowing that we have not addressed many feedback areas in the game today. Sure, I applaud the focus, but is it going to be too little too late? Again, we saw what you wanted to do type deal?
Yeah. I can't believe that the crafting is still not complete.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, all this stuff should have been decided well before the game came out. The main gripe from players is that you rushed to launch to have a premium cosmetic cash shop item and sacrificed on core gameplay loops and mechanics.
Even during my first look at the game, I was under the impression that the the crafting's not complete, and I stated that in the first look. It's not. It launched without the complete crafting, but I was under the impression that it was coming soon. Like they were just finishing it up, polishing it up, getting it ready to go. And here we are all this time later, and it's still not in the game. It just shocks me a little bit. I guess it shouldn't, because they've got their cash shop up and running, and that works just fine.
It is gaming in 2023. Yeah,
sometimes things surprise me that probably shouldn't, but man.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see them do this, but they're only doing it because the existing plan didn't work to the degree they wanted it to, Q. Otherwise, I don't think they'd be doing this. They launched a product the way they thought they could monetize it quickly. It's sad because I do enjoy the gameplay itself, but the gameplay loop long term is just not rewarding. It just isn't. There's a clear push to the cash shop, and it didn't have to be that way. And I got to believe that, it launched way back when, a few months ago. What was it, December? November? I can't remember. So 2 months? Something like that. Like
I don't know.
Somewhere between 1 and 3.
We're in January now.
Yeah, somewhere between 1 and 3 months ago. And only now are we seeing the willingness to delay everything, new content, new launches, and everything, because the pushback has been as aggressive as it has been.
So it's funny, when you gave me this to write, you were like, okay, go look at Reddit for some more. And I went and looked at Reddit, and I was like,
yeah,
okay,
I was
Reddit's
just
not
get
gonna be
specific
useful.
examples if you could.
Reddit's not going to be useful because it's nothing but memes at this point. but what I did find was on Steam, and like their most helpful review, right? They deemed a fully operational cash shop, which works like a charm and updated without any issues and necessity. Here's a list of things that they thought weren't needed. It doesn't need mission select. It doesn't need a campaign. It doesn't need a story when they hired a 40K writer. It doesn't need weapons they've shown in gameplay trailers. It doesn't need the 70+ weapons promised. It doesn't need a 5th class like Vermintide on launch. It doesn't need 2nd and 3rd careers like Vermintide on launch. It doesn't need crafting like Vermintide on launch. It doesn't need the promo outfits. It doesn't need enemies shown in trailers. It doesn't need to run at greater than 30 FPS on 30 series cards. It doesn't need their PR to post outside the Discord. It doesn't need to be finished on launch. It doesn't need basic mob patrols. It doesn't need better spawning. It doesn't need a scoreboard. It doesn't need penances not to require briefing entire team. It doesn't need shared inventory with all characters. It doesn't need shared set of weeklies for all characters. It doesn't need unified currency. It doesn't need crossplay with Game Pass users. It doesn't need launch stabilization. It doesn't need an option to disable RTX. It doesn't need to prioritize core features or over a virtual store. It doesn't need options to unlock store cosmetics with in-game earned currency. It doesn't need to fix crashes of the game before the crashes of the store. And it doesn't need a positive review score. The leader of Fat Shark thinks that the armory shop, map rotation, and crafting system are all fine, even though people accept improvements regarding these issues. Communication is non-existent.
Tika, while you were reading that, said stop. He's already dead.
You got him, boss.
Who wrote that review? Can we give him some credit real quick?
It was Kaze Kaizen.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Hey, speaking of money, Blizzard wants to know how much Hearthstone players would pay for a monthly subscription.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're back here again.
Yeah, according to a survey sent out, they were offering a couple different choices, saying a monthly subscription where you got all standard cards, one monthly price of $20 to access all standard cards, including the current expansion Uncraftable, or a monthly subscription, all standard cards for one class at $10 to access all standard cards in a class of your choice, Uncraftable, a monthly subscription for all standard cards at a $10 price to all standard cards except the current expansion, and a monthly subscription for Top Deck for 3 classes at $10 to access the current top-performing deck for 3 classes of your choice. So to basically be handed a meta deck, Uncraftable. So it looks like they're testing multiple options at $10 and $20 a month. I gotta say, there isn't a chance in hell I would ever pay any card game $10 to $20 a month for any sub, and certainly not to Blizzard. Certainly not to Blizzard. I don't even pay them a WoW sub right now. Pretty ballsy. I mean, it doesn't mean they're going to implement anything, of course, Troy.
But it means they want to.
We've seen the mass survey questions just, on how much would you pay for cosmetic skins in X game. Like we saw this with Overwatch 2 as it started to near release and later testing. Doesn't mean they're going to implement it, but yeah, to you, it seems like they want to. Would you pay it at all?
Hell no.
Yeah, you're such a card game fan, man. You love card games.
Yeah, let me tell you.
You love them. League of Legends also got hacked this week. Riot's test development era environment had an intrusion. They're still saying that personal data is not, and that kind of makes sense if it's their development environment, unless they're moving live data to development for testing, which sometimes happens. But they say, hey, no personal data was compromised. What was compromised is development environment source code for League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics and an anti-cheat platform legacy one that Riot used to use. And now they are demanding a ransom payment. I don't know how effective this is going to be. One, Riot's already said they're not going to pay it, and they'd be dumb to pay it. And two, yeah, they have source code, but that it's also for the development environment. And so Riot kind of pointed out, yeah, it's concerning that there's some source code out there that could lead to future cheats being created that don't exist now with some additional source code information. But the source code itself is going to contain things that were just ideas at some point that never went any further, or stuff that's in development but isn't going to actually be finished. Like, there's all kinds of half-assed stuff in there that may or may not ever see release. That is it concerning? Yes. Does it lead to the possibility of more cheats being created? Yes. Is it a situation where I think you're going to be able to successfully blackmail a company like Riot Games? I don't think so, Troy. I don't think so.
No, it doesn't sound like it based on what they've sort of their reply or their non-reply to, we're not paying this kind of thing. So it is concerning, though, that this was gotten a hold of, period, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely some kind of security breach in there somewhere. It does bother me a little bit that, this is available to the public, but yeah, they don't seem overly concerned about it. So
we'll keep an eye on it. Because if you're going to demand a ransom, if somebody doesn't do something and then you don't do what you said you were going to do, well, then, I mean, you can't ransom anybody from there on out, right? Like, you're just done. So do we find this source code online in the future? I don't know. We'll see. And finally, before we do some weekly bombs, I got to ask, sweet mother, what the hell is going on here? The day before, the zombie MMO from Fantastic that's already had a series of issues through its development and accusations of using volunteer labor and free labor. And we're not going to rehash the story. It's a somewhat sketchy zombie shooter MMO that was supposed to be released shortly here. Was supposed to come out. We were actually supposed to get a gameplay video, which we have not seen yet, despite this, having multiple delays already. One, because they wanted to change to the Unreal 5 engine. They were going to post a lengthy gameplay video this month. They're delaying that. And they're also postponing their launch now, which I think was scheduled for what, March? They're delaying it to November 10th. The reasoning behind it is just awesome.
Well, the reason they give.
Like, even if this was the reason, Troy, like, legitimately, and maybe it is, I don't know. I don't have any reason to doubt them on this being the reason. But I don't know if I'd admit it publicly. So
keep this one to yourself.
Yeah, somebody snagged their trademark for the name.
I just, when I was reading this, I'm just like, who announces a game before registering the trademark?
A year before registering a trademark. A year
who
went
does
by.
that? Like, did you literally think we're just going to announce this game and we just won't bother with a trademark?
Yeah. Like, this is 101, right? Hey, we're going to make this game. We have the funding. To be fair, we should say, like, this game is not like a situation where there's a bunch of Kickstarter supporters that are going to be asked out, even though Kickstarter is basically a donation anyway. It's not a crowdfunded thing. It's not a like go to buy founders packs and support. This gamers are generally just the spectators in this one, which is a nice change of pace. So I will give the day before credit on that front. But you can go ahead and scam big companies. So are they scamming a big company? They say no. They say our financier has always been on a contractual basis, marking milestones that we've met. And okay, you know what? Whatever. I don't have any evidence to the contrary. So your financier must be happy. And maybe you're not a scam. I don't know. But yeah, somebody snagged their trademark. Q, you're right. It's like it's in the 101 list, right? Let's go buy the URL. Let's lock down the Twitter. Let's lock down the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, any socials we're going to use. Let's lock down all the usernames. Let's go get our trademarks and applicable copyrights on anything that we're going to need trademark and or copyrights for. Let's get the website, at least a splash screen. Okay, now let's announce that we're developing this game after we lock it all down, right? Like that's
So there's another weird thing here though, and that's the fact that they have a specific date for the delayed launch.
Yeah.
Like they know all of this is going to be blown over by that time.
Yeah, they're saying for the gameplay video they were supposed to release, they're going to consult with lawyers first and then they can publish it. I'm assuming that has to do with the fact that the day before and stuff is probably shown in the gameplay trailer, like as an intro or an outro and stuff. To me, I'm kind of like, okay, if your concern is legitimately just the trademark issue, then you snip that part. Like you just snip it and put out the gameplay video. So we may see that soon. In fact, their Twitter, there's an update to this one that we've posted on MMOBomb today. Their Twitter account, they tweeted late last night, more news very soon, stay tuned, as they try to go through legal stuff. They were notified on January 19th that they received this complaint, that the trademark was somebody else's. So they're going to try and go after it, but everything's delayed. But stay tuned, more news very soon from their Twitter account. They also told IGN we were going to delay this anyway. Troy, to your point, this is in the update on MMOBomb right now from this morning. They told IGN we were going to delay this game anyway. The trademark issue just made sure we were going to delay, but we were probably going to be announcing a delay anyway. And to all the people saying this is a scam and not a game, they also responded to IGN in the form of a letter, so it wasn't like an interview thing, where they were like, we're working very hard. We're not taking money from anybody. We can't wait. This is a labor of passion, and we can't wait to come out and, quote, we feel like that simple guy from the 90s action movies. You probably remember him as the hero who breaks through the veil of disbelief when no one believes in him, but he finds the inner strength to win and prove to everyone what he is worth in the end.
Dude, if my eyes rolled any harder, they'd snap to the back of my head.
Yeah.
I don't think this game is nearly as ready as they're claiming it is. I really don't.
I mean, there's some out there that just call it it's not ever going to be a game. That they're just milking the financiers.
Yeah. At least they're not milking us, the customer.
Nah, there's
pre-order stuff
something
available.
Yeah, I do have to say this, like, let's say just for a second it's not a scam, it's not a project doomed to failure, like, and was months ago, and they just don't know what to do with it right now. Like, let's say they've been working as hard as they say they have, and they're as far as they say they are, and the financier has been fine with all the milestones along the way, and it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances that led to this delay and this trademark thing. Let's not pretend that the previous portions of all of this story haven't happened either, and the whole stuff with unpaid labor and all kinds of other issues they've had. Check out MMOBomb for more info on all of the past stuff if you want to get really caught up. Some great videos out there, too. If all of this is legit, the number of self-inflicted wounds here is just massive. And I don't remember the hero in any 90s movie overcoming so much adversity that they put in front of themselves. Like, I don't know. I think people are right to be skeptical. I think people are right to have doubts. They've done this to themselves to a certain extent.
I mean, if you didn't go register your trademark before you announced it and somebody else did, you did that to yourself. There's no kind of or whatever. You literally did the worst possible thing to yourself.
And in the other, sweet mother, what is happening here? Tech lead for World of Warcraft Classic is leaving, or has left, I should say. Brian Birmingham has left the company over Blizzard's stack ranking employee evaluation system that reportedly required approximately 5% of your employees that you were rating to get a low ranking to help feed motivation and desires to improve, thus impacting potential raises, potential promotions, bonuses, all that stuff. Screw it. You're going to rate 10 employees or you're going to rate 20 employees. One of them has to get a low ranking right off the bat. Fighting against it for the last year or two and not being forced to use it led Birmingham to believe that, okay, it's not something that's being enforced, even though it's a process that shouldn't exist to begin with. Now being forced to do it, Birmingham said no. My job as a manager is to help people grow and be a people manager, not force stack ranking people into successful or developing ranks like that. Absolutely not. Reporting coming from Bloomberg on that. Sweet mother, what is going on?
If you're a good manager of people, then you're growing your team to a point where none of them are in that developing category that they want you to stick so many people in.
Yeah. What a mess. What a mess. Let's go do the weekly bombs. I did the bump. Yay. I'm going to give an A-bomb to the day before. It's just such a mess. Like, even if the project is totally legit, you can't fault for people for believing that it's not because of everything that's just happened. I got to give them an A-bomb. And that's if it's legit, too. Like, it's right to be a mess externally viewed by players, even if it's 100% legit and always was. But there are some reasons that I don't think as fantastic, you can fairly look at the situation and say, I don't understand why people are doubting that this is a legit game and is going to be a released game. They swear in today's update, this will be released. We'll see. I'm going to give an A-bomb, though. It's a dumb situation, and so much of it's self-inflicted. Go ahead, Q.
You know what, Mike? I'm going to give a bomb to you for doing the bump.
Yeah, buddy. I earned that one. Go ahead, Troy.
This week, I have to give an A-bomb to Activision Blizzard King, the corporation. The company is just anti-personnel, anti-consumer. It's just not a good company and not one that I support at this time.
Yep. Yeah, the stacked ranking was enough for me to re-up my boycott on Blizzard stuff after talking to internal people, friends of mine. I subbed to WoW for a month. No, that's gone now. From viewers, remember, you can comment your weekly bombs on YouTube and on mmobomb.com. Of course, it's a huge part of the show for weekly bombs and question of the week answers, so please make sure you participate. Throw them in the comments for us. Someone else, great YouTube name, says, regarding the Blizzard and NetEase thing, Blizzard has likely been in talks with other companies in China for a while already. Fair, absolutely. I would 100% agree that they probably were. But that's taking longer than they may have hoped. Also fair. I probably agree that's true. They put in for an extension with NetEase. I agree. Probably true. So players would get roughly uninterrupted service and don't get into other games. Also, NetEase pointed out that green drink being handed out while they trashed the World of Warcraft statue in the video was Blizzard green tea, where green tea is a Chinese slang term for someone that comes off as virtuous but is decidedly not so, something Q brought up on last week's show as well. Then let's not forget that a NetEase employee... Why are you highlighting things?
I don't know.
Then let's not forget that a NetEase employee used a company's social media account to compare the Chinese political leader to Winnie the Pooh, which caused a delay in the release of Diablo Immortal in China. Also true. And that's just the stuff we know of. So there could be no end of other BS NetEase has been doing over the years. So while I have no real love for Blizzard anymore, if I was them, I'd probably want to get the hell away from those childish fools at NetEase too. And you know what? Someone else, there's nothing in there that I disagree with. Like, I think you are totally on point. And I think it's a fight where you're watching two people fight and you're like, is there any way they could both knock each other out? Like, like when you watch a boxing match and it's just two assholes and you're just like, could they both get knocked out, please? Just like punch each other in the face at the same time.
It's like the opposite of watching your parents fight.
Right. Go ahead, Q.
Omega Contagion. I played Dragon's Dogma online briefly. There was an English patch, but ping was pretty gnarly. The game was so much fun. It played exactly like the single-player game. Fun action combat, climbing on giant monsters and slashing them up. Great fun. This game shut down before the Eastern companies learned how profitable it was to bring their games to the West. Now there are so many Korean, Japanese, Chinese games launched in the West and more coming. It's sad this one's never got the chance. I'm not sure how in-game was, but I had a great time playing it while I did.
Yeah, a lot of people actually kind of curious if that one continues to come back. Real quick from chat, to Cal saying A-bomb to Carolina Panthers. See, this is why the NFL is getting sued for not giving minority coaches a shot. Y'all just trying to lose that case, I see. I actually don't know what's going on with the Panthers.
They just instantly hired Frank Reich.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah, they hired Frank Reich.
Baron Vagabond saying, dub bomb for doing the bump. Aw, Q beat me to it. And Stojan saying, to bomb to The Last of Us first 2 episodes. Go ahead, Troy.
Box says, giving a dub bomb to NetEase Blizzard shenanigans, not because I want the Chinese player base to suffer because of both companies or anything, but there's just something so satisfying about watching pettiness unfold the way the orc statue destruction for green tea went down.
It was satisfying to watch. Like I told you, it's like, I hate all of you, but I'll watch. I'll watch. It's like when what's the YouTube Logan Paul? It's like every time he goes to, is he the one that does the boxing? Do I have that right? Yes.
So the two Paul kids.
Yeah, Paul Logan. Paul Logan. Is that it? I don't know. I don't watch the Jake. Yeah, it's Jake. You're right. It's Jake. Every time I'm like, I don't really want to watch, but I'll watch just in case you get knocked out. Like, which is the whole deal, right? I mean, they're totally scamming me out of my money. Chirac, dub bomb to Redfall for actually getting a release date. It is Jake Paul, yeah. As soon as you said Jake, I remembered it. Question of the week last week. Given the state of the games industry, what company would you actually want to work for if you were planning to go into the industry, and why? Does it come down to working on a dream game, a favorite game, or company itself? Halfway through the show, we gave you an alternate question of the week, though, when we started talking about midnight releases, asking what was the last midnight release you went to and how was it. So people could have answered either of these questions. Thoverisk says, oh man, my last midnight release was Wrath of the Lich King. Man, I'm old. Join the club. Go ahead, Q.
Metallica Fan 1442. The last time I went to a midnight release was when the PS4 came out. Don't normally do them, but I wanted the console bad.
Yeah, I had totally forgotten that. Yeah, you can still occasionally get midnight releases for the consoles themselves until I saw that comment. Yeah, because I bought the Switch at a midnight release, and the PS5 and the Xbox, I had those just shipped to me on release day, so I didn't have to go anywhere. Go ahead, Troy.
Sujet, the last midnight release I went to was for StarCraft 2. Feels like an eternity ago, and I probably wouldn't go to another midnight release because we all know most games aren't worth playing on release day due to bugs and server instability.
100%. And it feels like an eternity ago because it was. Chirac says, question of the week. Closest to a midnight release I went to was Black Friday sales. Almost went to a Magic the Gathering expansion release, but real life happened. I would love to go to a midnight release, but there are 3 things stopping me. 1, the quality of AAA games at launch is much lower than they used to be. 2, the only game I'd consider going for right now would maybe be Starfield or Pow World. And 3, the closest place a good midnight event would happen is over 100 miles from where I live. So I'd rather stay home and play the game at launch if I was that excited. Yeah, I'm all 3 points, 100% valid, Chirac. I don't disagree. Go ahead, Q.
To Cal 2399. There is no dev or publisher I'd want to work for. In fact, I wouldn't want to work in any video game related industry, period. Devs, publishers constantly laying off people when a game doesn't do well or even once development wraps is a no-go for me. You even see the game related sites doing it recently. I'm risk averse. That's why I'm in the sector agency I'm in. It's nothing if not stable. As far as midnight releases, I have been to one. I picked up NCAA 14 on PS3 back in 2013. My school, FIU, was coming off a 3-9 season and our recruiting class was mess, so I went full fine. I'll do it myself mode.
Fair. Finish it up, Troy.
Box. Okay, so technically I have an answer to both questions, at least to an extent. I'll start with the first question about wanting to work in the game industry. I actually did a summer internship for both Blizzard and Riot way back in the late aughts, early tens. Working at both companies gave me a hard reality kick that I was not cut out for the game industry. No hate towards either company, just not for me personally. And with the second question, the last midnight release I went to was for the game that also ruined console games for me completely. I went to a midnight release for Brink.
Oh,
if anyone on the panel remembers
God.
that. Yeah, that was supposed to be such a huge game. So bad that I literally played it for an hour and returned it just hours later when the store opened. It was so bad, I sold my 360 and went full on with PC gaming.
Oh, that's sad.
That is kind of sad. Yes, I absolutely remember Brink.
Yeah.
Question of the week this week. We talked about Redfall. We talked about Elder Scrolls Online. There's generally games that Troy and I and others on the staff here are excited for. Maybe, dare I say, a little hyped for. Not overly optimistic, but a little hyped for. So I want to know, what was the last MMORPG or multiplayer game that you were like truly hyped for before release? And did it work out for you in the game when it actually released? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget your weekly bombs. D-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad in the world of gaming, or just life in general in the comments for next week's show. We'll, of course, be back next Friday right here, twitch.tv/MMOBomb at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, Noobfridge, where can everybody find you?
Hey, wherever you like to social media, I'm at Noobfridge.
Cute.
Staring at a cat. On Twitter at Quinlan.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so you'll know, with the exception of today, every time we go live on Twitch, put up a new first look video stream, giveaway, and so much more. Till next week, stay safe. See you on the servers.